Everyone, this is Indrajit Ganguly and welcome to your history class. Dear students, today I am starting a new topic from the syllabus of history, that is chapter number 6, Bhakti and Sufi tradition, religious beliefs and devotional texts. Remember students, this chapter basically deals with Bhakti and Sufi movement. In my last chapter, I have discussed with you the Protestant movement such as Buddhism and Jainism, and you understood that how these two Protestant movements basically challenged the Brahmanical Hinduism, right? And how this movement basically changed the Brahmanical Hinduism and gave a new sort of religious tradition. But remember students, Bhakti and Sufi movement basically religious reformation movement. Now, what does it mean, religious reformation movement? It means that Bhakti and Sufi movement changed Hinduism, Orthodox Hinduism and Orthodox Islam respectively. So, first of all, I will give you idea on Bhakti movement. Next, I will discuss with you the Sufi tradition. Okay, in my today's topic, that is what is Bhakti movement, what are the features of Bhakti movement and what are the major principles and ideas of Bhakti movement. You can see that Bhakti movement was a revolution started by Hindu saints to bring a religious reformation by adopting the method of devotion to achieve salvation. So, these can be the definition of Bhakti movement. It is a religious reformation movement and they adopted the method of devotion to achieve salvation. So, when we are discussing about the features of Bhakti movement, we can say that first of all, these movement regionally developed around different gods and goddesses such as Lord Vishnu or Lord Shiva. Okay, so basically these movement focused around or developed around these two gods. Next, it preached using local languages. Obviously, you saw that basically the Brahmanical Hinduism focused mainly on the Sanskrit language, right? And they use Sanskrit languages for the pujas or yagnas, right? But Bhakti movement usually focused on the local languages, local languages, and they composed poetries, okay, singing, and these poetries and singing usually these usually used in the devotion of gods, and it usually used in the worship of gods, like bhajan, kirtan, in that ways. Okay, and definitely the Bhakti sense, they usually used the local languages to attach large number of masses. So that is we call that I have told you, that is a religious reformation movement. It rejected the Sanskrit language and it rejected that kind of language because it could be used by the common people. Next, it rejected elaborate rituals and practices of Hinduism. Obviously, if you remember that Brahmanical Hinduism basically focused on yagnas, pujas. Okay, so Bhakti movement rejected these elaborate rituals and practices. They believe that whenever we just chanting the name of God or whenever we are devoted to God, no religious practices like pujas and yagnas are not required. Only passionate devotion to God, it's enough for the bhakti or for the devotion. Next, the main principles of Bhakti movement. You can saw that God is one. Remember students, I have once again heard that in Hindu religion or Hindu tradition there are 33 crores deities. You will be surprised to know that 33 crore. I am not saying that this is true, but there is some belief among the common people. There are 33 crores deities. Suppose when we are looking into our own house, basically 5 or 6 deities are there. Basically Ma Kali, Mahadev, Ganesh, okay, Lord Krishna is there. 5 or 6 deities are there in our houses. So Bhakti movement rejected the concept of polytheism. What is the meaning of polytheism? Polytheism is the meaning of many god theory. And Bhaktism basically focused on the monotheism theory, that is the God is one. The God can be anyone. The God can be Ram, God can be Allah and God can be Jesus Christ. Okay, Almighty is one, but it has different types of names. Clear? Next one, all men are equal. Obviously, If you remember that from the chapter number 3 of history, that I have discussed with you about the 4 Varna orders, right? In the first order, that is Brahman, next Kshatriya, then Vaishya, then Shudra, right? So Bhakti movement usually criticized or they challenged these things. They said that no, all men are equal because all men or all people are the child of God. So there is no sort of discrimination. Next one, caste distinctions and religious practices are to be given up. Obviously, I have told you that there is no place of caste discrimination. Every man are equal and there is no barrier of caste. Next one, passionate devotion to God. I have told you that it is very important that it was, suppose when you are devoted to God, there is no required that you are visited any temple or you are visited any pilgrimage place. Suppose if you are passionate to your devotion and you are chanting the name of your God or name of the God from your house, that is enough. No other religious practices, no other rituals is required for the devotion of the gods. So these are the basic principles of Bhakti movement and these are the features of the Bhakti movement. Remember students, in Bhakti's tradition, many poet saints emerged as leader and they developed a community of devotees. Now the meaning of poets and poets like Baba Guru Nanak, Kabir, Namdev, Tulsidas, Ramanuj, Mirabai, Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, these are poet saints and these saints are emerged as a leaders. What type of leader? They are religious reformative leaders. And they developed a community of devotees. Just like Baba Guru Nanak developed a community called Sikh. Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev developed a community called Vaishnav and many more. Okay, these traditions accommodate women and lower caste. Obviously, in the Brahmanical Hinduism, lower caste people and women did not have any accommodation because they are negligible and they have no place in the Brahmanical Hinduism. But in the Bhakti movement, basically they got an important place. So historians of religion, they classified the Bhakti tradition into 2 ways. First one is Shaguna Bhakti and second one is Nirguna Bhakti. Now the question is, what is the meaning of Shaguna Bhakti and Nirguna Bhakti? Remember students, Shaguna Bhakti focused on the worship of Shiva, Vishnu and his avatar and goddess. Clear? And Nirguna Bhakti basically focused on the idea of abstract form of God, or we can say formless God. Okay, and it can be said that Guru Nanak, okay, Kabir, Sri Chaitanya, these are abstract form of God. Remember students, Shaguna Bhakti and Nirguna Bhakti. The difference between Shaguna Bhakti and Nirguna Bhakti very important for 3 marks question along with the objective type questions. Okay, now remember students, the Bhakti movement originated in 6th century AD and it was originated in South India. The Alvars and Nayanars groups of Tamil Nadu basically developed the Bhakti movement in South India and gradually the Bhakti movement spread into East India, North India, West India and basically the every parts of the subcontinent. Okay, so our first topic in our next topic, that is Alvars and Nayanars of South India. Remember students, this topic is very important for both 3 marks question and 8 mark question. Okay, now question is, who are Alvars and who are Nayanars? Remember students, Alvars devoted to Lord Vishnu and Nayanars devoted to Shiva. Basically most of the students, they have a confusions on Alvars and Nayanars. Don't be confused because it is very important for objective type question. Alvars, they are devoted to Vishnu and Nayanars, they are devoted to Shiva. Okay, so just remember any one and the other will be opposite. Okay, I have already discussed with you that there are generally the Bhakti movement regionally developed around different gods like Shiva and Vishnu. So Alvars, they have devoted to one god and Nayanars too. Okay, the place of worship. So Alvars and Nayanars identify certain shrines as abode of their chosen deities. Okay, often large temples built as their sacred place also developed as center of pilgrimage. Next, rituals. They composed many poetries and songs, and these songs and poetries were often used in the worship of their beloved gods. Okay, so in this way they usually perform their devotion. Next one, that is attitude towards caste system. I have already told you that Bhakti movement is generally a movement that is a religious reformation movement. Okay, so Bhakti movement rejected the caste system, Bhakti movement rejected the Varna system. So obviously the Alvars and Nayanars, they criticized the caste system of India, and they hailed from diverse social backgrounds ranging from Brahmins to artisans, cultivators and untouchables. So you understood that different groups of people became the followers of the Alvars and Nayanars. Their composition as important as Vedas. Major anthologies compositions by the Alvars are Nalayara Divya Pravandama. Nalayara Divya Pravandama. It is very important composition that was composed by the Alvars. And remember students, this composition was described as Tamil Veda. When you see my the class notes that was provided in the Google Classroom, you will find the name, that is I have already mentioned, Nalayara Divya Pravandama. Okay, next, women devotees. Okay, I have told you that basically lower caste people and women get their position in the Bhakti movement. So obviously there are women devotees are there in the Alvars and Nayanars group. Okay, first of all, women Alvar. Andal, she is a woman Alvar. She saw herself as the beloved of Vishnu, and her verses express her love for Vishnu. Next, that is a woman devotee of Nayanar. Her name was Karayakkal Ammayar. I am repeating once again, Karayakkal Ammayar. Karayakkal Ammayar, a devotee of Shiva, she adopted the path of extreme asceticism in order to attain her goal. That means in order to attain Lord Shiva. So she is a women devotee of Nayanar group. Remember students, these women devotee renounced their social obligations and challenged the patriarchal norms and the patriarchal society. That is very important. So obviously it can be said that Bhakti movement is basically a religious movement. Okay, our last topic from this topic, that is relationship with the states. Remember students, the rulers, they often required divine support to claim their status, power and authority. So rulers, they try to maintain good relationship with these religious leaders. Therefore, they created temples of their chosen deities. There is an example in your book that like Chola rulers of South India, they made land grants for the construction of Shiva temples. Just example, Chidambaram, Tanjavur, Gangaikonda Cholapuram and many more. And these Chola rulers often composed the anthologies of these Alvars and Nayanars, and these texts were united, and these texts were coming together, all together, and they published it as Tevaram. So in this way, the South Indian ruler, basically they make a good relation with Alvars and Nayanars, and without their support, Alvars and Nayanars group could not become a popular in South India, and the Bhakti movement also could not become popular. Okay, so this is it for today. In my next class, I will discuss with you another important religious leaders from the Bhakti movement. Thank you and have a nice day.